Hello friends and foes of Middle-earth, and welcome back. Today we celebrate the 2nd anniversary of the channel, and for that reason I thought it would be interesting to talk a little about the Tolkien Legendarium and how it's still expanding to this day. It might surprise some people, especially because J.R.R. Tolkien died in 1973. Most of you know his son Christopher Tolkien has since published a ton of brilliant books based on his father's notes, most famously The Silmarillion. I think it's important to point out that Christopher did an excellent job, but not one without flaws, something he admits himself several times in the History of Middle-earth volumes. If you've ever discussed something like how orcs were made, how many BellaBergolts there actually were, or who Gil-galad's father is, you know what I'm talking about. So how can the Legendarium still be expanded, now that Christopher has also passed away? Well, in short, new information comes to light, either detailing new aspects of the lore, or changing things already established. So today I want to present two examples of this. Let's start with an interesting one, concerning the Horde. If you're a Tolkien nerd, this one is probably high on your list, as it actually includes a lot of interesting stuff. It's a manuscript by Tolkien enclosed by him in a 1964 letter to Eileen Elgar. On the 16th of July last year, the manuscript was sold in auction along with the manuscript Kinship of the Half-Elven and the letter to Eileen Elgar. I personally think it's one of the more interesting findings in recent years, as Christopher Tolkien didn't have a copy when he edited the Silmarillion. That also means it somewhat better represents some of Tolkien's final thoughts on certain things. The sack of Doriath is quite different from what we read in the Silmarillion. In this text, the girdle of Melian falls not because of Thingol's death, as we can read. Either this fence had been robbed of its power by the evil within, or Melian had removed it in grief and horror at the deed that had been done. The dwarf host entered Doriath, and most of Thingol's warriors perished. His hordes were violated, and he himself slain. I'd recommend you guys to read it, as it also includes other interesting changes, like the fate of Macklor. Most of us probably remember his ending from the Silmarillion, and it is told of Macklor that he could not endure the pain with which the Silmaril tormented him, and he cast it at last into the sea. Thereafter he wandered ever upon the shores, singing in pain and regret beside the waves. For Macklor was mighty among the singers of old, named only after Daeron of Doriath, but he never came back among the people of the elves. The version found in Concerning the Horde is quite different, however, and could be considered more legitimate than what's written in the Silmarillion. The other two Silmarils were also taken by the Valar from the crown of Morgoth, but the last surviving sons of Feanor, Maethras and Macklor, in a despairing attempt to carry out the oath, stole them again, for they were tormented by them, and at last they perished, each with a duel, one in a fiery cleft in the earth, and one in the sea. So the three Silmarils were lost forever, until the remaking of the world, in air, earth, and sea. Thus ended the first age. So in this version Macklor actually dies, though it's not explained exactly how. It does kinda hint at suicide, much like it happened with Macklor, throwing himself into the fiery chasm. I'll leave a link in the comment section in case you want to read the whole thing yourself. It's not a very long text, so it should be easy to get through. The other example I want to talk about is the new edition of Tolkien's letters, that include 150 new letters. Sadly I haven't bought the book myself, as I'm currently in a financial low point, but I can't wait to dive into all these new letters. I think one of my favorite letters of Tolkien is letter 211, where he discussed the Blue Wizards. They are rarely mentioned elsewhere in the lore, so this letter is some of the most detailed descriptions until The Peoples of Middle-earth was published in 1996. Surely there must be new information in some of these 150 letters, and also some great topics for future videos. If you want to support the channel, please consider becoming a member here on YouTube or patron over on Patreon. You can now follow the Patreon page for free, so feel free to check it out. Please also let me know if some of the stuff from Concerning the Horde surprised you. I'd love to hear your reaction. Over on my merchandise store, you can get 30% discount on Black Friday, so feel free to check it out if you're interested. If you want to know more interesting stuff about the Legendarium, one of these videos might interest you. As always, thank you all for watching, and farewell till next time.